Okay. Okay. Seems there's nobody here yet, so. Yeah. Uh, why would you need the option? It's not gonna actually be useful. Mm, Where's chat at? Do I even have a chat? Okay. Well, I'm guessing everyone's gonna take a bit to get here, so might as well start. In engines, connecting rod bearings are worn, resulting in low oil pressure and knocking sound at startup. Which of the following could be the cause? Okay, so engine oil. Hmm. Don't you know that's what lubricates these the piston of the pistons? They lubricate the bearings which are in the pistons. Uh, Low oil pressure. Low oil would cause low oil pressure, clogged. Yeah, a clogged air filter would have nothing to do with there being low oil pressure. So okay, Crankshaft contains oil supply galleries, passages that transfer oil under pressure from a hole in the engine block through a hole in the main bearing to the connecting rod, journals, and bearings. So this right here is the, I don't want to say it's the oil pan, but it could be. It says a sump. It probably is. Anyway, this right here is the crankshaft. It holds all the pistons, and there is like holes in the engine block that uh, carry oil, that send that oil into the rods, the bearings, the pistons, and also send oil up here to these springs that open and close your valves. So at the heart of the engine's lubrication system is the oil pump. Uh, External twin ear oil. Bruh. Oh, you can't even see the chat, man. That sucks. Properties. Oh no, what if I make it black? Nah, that would be bad too. Width. Make it taller. And thinner. That's not gonna help. What the hell? Oops. Oh my god. Okay, I think that's a little better. Anyway, this is the oil pump right here. And this is like a floater that is connected to the oil pump, which sends like a signal to the computer that tells the computer how high or low the oil is. And there should be like a sensor somewhere that also says, that tells you the oil pressure, and that's why, that's where you get the oil pressure from. Yeah, look, here's the gauge, and this gets oil pressure from the oil filter. So when the oil gets pumped, it goes through the filter, and then it goes to the gauge, and then the gauge senses it. The oil pump, Apollo, go to bed, can't go outside. The oil pump picks up screen, filters large pieces, and the oil filter filters finer particles, pretty small. Pump passes pressurized oil to the engine's oil galleries. These are oil galleries. Oh my god. A film of oil protects valve train components from wear. The valve train will become noisy and soon fail without the necessary oil. Low oil pressure causes a ticking sound from metal to metal contact with the valve in the valve train. Drain holes in the cylinder head and block provide a return path to the sump. A restriction in the oil drainage system leads to puddling and premature valve seal failure. So the oil pump, creates pressure, and it sends the oil goes through a filter in the oil pump, a screen, a pickup screen. I'm taking notes right now, so oil pump creates pressure. That's a pickup screen. that filters out larger particles. And then the oil filter filters out those really tiny particles. So then it goes to galleries, and those galleries go to these bearings. And low oil pressure can cause ticking because not enough oil is getting in the valves. Technician A says to measure the oil pump gear end play before reinstalling the pump. Technician B says to use a feeler gauge and a straight edge to measure oil pump body flatness. Now, I have no idea what this question is talking about. I'll try to figure it out. So, measure the oil pump gear end play. End play is whenever it moves back and forth, or side to side, like it's moving around in there. So that makes sense if you really want to measure how much the gear is moving around before you install the pump. Technician B says to use a feeler gauge and a straight edge to measure oil pump body flatness. I don't know. I guess you want to use a straight edge if you want to measure the flatness. So yeah. Gerotor, gerotor oil pump. Most modern engines have a eccentric gerotor gear pump at the front. These pumps have an internal gear driving an external driven gear. There's a damn oil pump again. I already read this. Okay, this is what they're talking about. Oil pump clearance. After removing the oil pump, use a straight edge and a feeler gauge to check the oil pump body flatness. Okay, so this is what I'm guessing. You want to check that the surface is completely flat so that it'll seal, because you don't want to leak oil. Measuring pump case flatness. Insert the feeler gauge blade between the gear and the straight edge to measure the gear inplay. Yeah, so this would probably shift forward and back depending on how worn it is. And depending on how worn it is, you want to see if it's, if it's out of spec. Place the straight edge. Insert the feeler gauge between the gear tips, and body to measure gear clearance. Okay, I'm guessing that that's important too. Inner drive gear, external driven gear. The front mounted gerotor pumps have external and internal gear powered by the crankshaft. Check clearances with a feeler gauge and manufacturer specifications. I'm sure this is so loud. I'm sure I can watch a YouTube video on YouTube. Okay, what am I looking for? Gerotor. Oil pump. Okay, so that's the pump, I'm guessing. Another thing I don't understand is how. Okay, formatted checkpoints. Uh, so I'm guessing both of these are powered by the crankshaft. I'm guessing the crankshaft will go right through here in the middle, and that would spin it around, and oil will get inside of these. They don't look like it, but okay. Technician in the illustration above is. Hmm, I don't think it's torque. The rocker shaft. Guessing it's this. Process known as torque angle fastening method. Manufacturers of modern engines recommend torquing the bolt with a torque wrench and then turning a certain number of degrees. Torque to yield bolts are typically torqued to snug with a torque gauge and then angled. This process is known as torque angle fastening method. So they torque it down and then you gotta set it at an angle for torque purposes. Much of the turning effort turning the torque gauge is spent overcoming friction. In addition, variables like dirt and lubricants can affect the torque reading. Torquing a bolt to a snug fit with a torque wrench and then turning the bolt to the exact number of degrees eliminates these problems and is more accurate and consistent. So it's just an accuracy thing. But what is this? Torquing. What is he torquing down though? I guess I'm just talking about in general torque to yield bolts. 36 foot-pounds, 90-degree angle, 90-degree. For example, torque the cylinder head bolts from the inside out, starting at the intake manifold to 36 foot-pounds, then apply two angle turns, so like this. This first pass snugs the bolt without stretching it. The second pass is 90-degree angle or quarter turn, the third pass is another 90-degree angle. Most cylinder heads are aluminum, head gaskets are MLS or multi-layered steel and fastened to iron aluminum engine blocks. Iron and aluminum expand at different rates, resulting in movement between the dissimilar metals. For example, when heated, aluminum expands over twice the rate of iron. So that's just to make sure that when these things get hot, because they're right by the cylinders, it just wants to make sure that they expand and they work properly together. The charging light on an instrument panel intermittently flickers while driving. Charging light. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Is it just a battery? Yeah. No, clicked the wrong thing. I hate shopping. It's terrible. Yeah, so I'm guessing it's just a battery light. What's this? Okay. An open positive charging cable. I think they're talking about the red wire. Misaligned power steering pulley. I don't see why that would have anything to do with it. A faulty clutch pulley bearing. I don't think so. A weak accessory belt tensioner. Most likely. I'm thinking this one. I could see how this one might be it, but let's go take a guess with this one. What? Weak accessory belt tensioner or worn accessory belt results in squealing, flickering charging light. Don't look up, you're just sat on the webcam. I know, bro, my fault. I don't like studying. And a flapping belt. Okay, so it has a pulley attached to your engine. The accessory belt tensioner applies consistent tension on the belt pulleys. However, the tensioner spring can weaken, resulting in a squeak, a flickering charging light, and accessory belt flip. Play Mobamba. No, Fed. I'm gonna end up getting copyright struck, like someone I know. If y'all, do y'all really want to listen to music? It's gonna have to be Kevin with the Leo. It takes 24 hours. I have to apply, and it takes 24 hours for me to be like approved for streaming. So I'm not gonna do that again. If adjusted, if the tension applies too much pressure or is over adjusted, the accessory pulley bearing will wear and begin to squeal. Okay, so my guess is that it's flickering the light because the alternator is connected to the same one. So if the alternator starts charging the battery, it'll flash the light. Or actually, it'll just start messing with your voltage on your car. There's no copyright free Mobamba. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. What are the options? Open positive charging cable. There's no way that's copyright free. What's the name of the song? 'Cause I don't know. A vehicle has a black colored exhaust, a lack of power when accelerating. Okay. Black exhaust means you're burning too much fuel. They call it rich, a rich fuel ratio. So your engine is like always sucking in air and using gas to create a ratio of super volatile gas. No, I'm not, bro. I'm not doing that. So it uses air and gas to create like a super volatile mixture, and then just that little spark from the spark plug causes the explosion that sends the piston down. So the perfection for air and fuel is 15 parts air to 1 part fuel, uh, and we still haven't been able to get that perfection. So it's constantly running slightly rich, slightly lean, slightly rich, slightly lean. It gets like 14.6 or 16.2 or something. Um, or like to one. And when you have a very rich fuel ratio, you start your exhaust comes out black or really you know really. It says right here that I'm fine. That's weird. Maybe my microphone is coming out somewhere else. Hold on. Does it sound any better? I don't know why you wouldn't be able to hear me. Everything seems to be fine. Or you think I'm just talking too low? It's lying. Oh, I can't turn this up anymore. I guess I might have to turn it up on. Eh, I'll just put the microphone closer to my mouth. I'll put it right in my mouth so you can hear me you can hear me good then. You guys can hear me breathing and shit. You never sent me like the name of the song, Javier. Okay, so uh technician A says rich air fuel ratio. TV on 60 volt. May have clogged the catalytic converter. Yeah, that could happen. Your catalytic converter is responsible for burning up excess fuel in, or you would call them hydrocarbons. Um, and inside the catalytic converter, there's like metals that absorb those hydrocarbons and burn them, so it's easier on the environment, right? It's supposed to clean as it's supposed to clean the exhaust as good as it can before it goes out. So, uh, yeah, if you run too rich, you're constantly, you know, pouring a bunch of hydrocarbons into your catalytic converter, and yeah, it can clog it. So, technician B says to use a back pressure tester to test for a restriction in the exhaust system. Yeah, so I don't remember where I heard this, but I kind of heard that sometimes having some amount of back pressure is good. Most automotive action is generally detrimental to performance. Well, it's one of the most common recommended mods is the rotary cause huge amount of back pressure. Oh, I guess you technically do want to have some back pressure because that means you have a catalytic converter, but you know what I mean. I heard it was I heard it was kind of good. Well, the reason why you have two catalytic converters is because you have a V engine and the exhaust systems are connected to both sides. Sometimes they like come out of the both of the sides and then they connect into one. But since you have a lot of exhaust coming out, it's, generally easier if you just have two exhaust pipes. But it's expensive if they steal your catalytic converters. Because now you got two to worry about. So yeah, I'd say both of them are correct. Yeah. A melted substrate results in excessive back pressure. This would be so if I had four, when it would polluting. Uh, I wouldn't say that. I'd say you'd probably have performance issues because now your engine can't breathe out as well. But I don't know. When an engine runs rich, the catalytic converter works harder and runs hotter than intended. Yeah. This heat can damage the substrate or the precious metals and cause it to melt. Where did you think I got? Oh my god. You just have one pipe and you have two catalytic converters. Like, you have the second one welded to the end of your exhaust pipe. Now your carbon's like shit. Yeah, so like there's like this mesh. It's like this mesh of metals. Consists of aluminum oxide, uh, materials like platinum and palladium. They react to remove the carbon monoxide and hydrocarbon from the exhaust stream. And we might cover this later, but there's actually two oxygen sensors generally on your catalytic converters. So you have oxygen coming in from the engine that goes through one side, right? And these oxygen sensors read the exhaust and how much oxygen is in it, how much carbohydrate. I don't know. I don't know what exactly what it reads, but I know what it does. It reads the exhaust and it sends that data to the computer so that computer knows this is what's coming out. And then the exhaust goes through the catalytic converter. It's supposed to get clean, and now the second oxygen sensor is reading what comes out, and it should be a lot cleaner than how it came in. If this one reads that it's not clean, and this one reads that it's not clean, then you probably have a bad catalytic converter. Sometimes you can heat them, or it just wears down over time, and eventually they stop doing their job, or a hole comes through it and it just lets a bunch of exhaust out. Oxygen sensors also kind of report, I think this one, the one that goes from the engine to the converter, um, it kind of reads the thing and it sends that information to the computer and it adjusts the mix. So if they still want it'll okay. I mean, you're gonna have a check engine light and you're gonna be short of one catalytic converter. So still want it'll be okay. Okay. You probably wouldn't pass inspection though. So, it won't be okay. Catalytic converter. Okay, we already read that. Two-way catalytic converter works by oxidizing CO and HC, so carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons, to carbon dioxide and water. So if you ever notice that there's like water dripping from your exhaust pipe, that means your exhaust work is working. It means it's actually doing its job. It's the condensation from, the heat and the carbon dioxide. A three-way catalytic converter also removes NOx, oxides of nitrogen, from the exhaust. If the catalytic state doesn't do inspections anymore, I think you still gotta do emission checks though. I think that's the only thing you gotta do. And I heard it was just for specific cars or something. I don't know. If the needle drops steadily, the engine is red. Check for a restriction in the exhaust system. If the catalytic converter rattles when struck with a rubber mallet, the internal substrate has melted. The catalytic converter must be replaced. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I already read that. Exhaust back pressure tested. A clogged catalytic converter causes a restriction that results in a noticeable drop in power during acceleration. Okay. Uh, will not need to get their cars inspected to renew their registration. However, vehicle owners in 17 emission counties will need to have their vehicles tested for emissions. Yeah. So you don't need safety inspections, but you still need emission checks. I think it's until they're 25 years old, I think. Yeah. So in Texas, if they're 25 years old, they don't need the safety or emissions. They will be subject to a 750 inspection fee. Yeah, I don't think it's anybody other than, those who own cars from 2000 back. Not a lot of people. I'm guessing that's why they did that. And a lot of people drive older cars like that. Yeah, but it's probably still statewide. Technician A says to use a machinist rule to measure valve tip installed height. Don't know at all what a machinist rule is. Valve tip installed height. Uh, uh. Technician B says to use an outside micrometer to measure valve spring squareness. Dude, I don't know what any of this is. Okay, let's try to see what a machinist rule is. Try to figure it out. Okay, so it's a straight edge, steel rule, metal ruler designed for precise mark. Is it the same thing? A machinist rule is a fucking straight edge. Why the hell do they do it like that? Always try to confuse your ass. Uh, install tip height. I don't know. He says to use an outside micrometer to measure valve spring squareness. Let's just take a guess and guess both and figure it out. Okay, so use a square and a feeler gauge to check valve spring squareness. Use a machinist rule to measure valve tip installed height. Okay, so these are your valves. Um, most likely, like these would be intake, so they make sure you're paying attention. I guess it's just in class we go over a lot of things, but we don't often go like in depth, um, like super in depth of how things work. So sometimes we go over the simple basics, and that's it. And it's basically our job to go and research things and study for this kind of stuff because they ask that kind of thing, those kind of things in on the tests. Valve protrusions is when the valve sinks further into the head than intended. Over time or when recovering, moving material from the valve and seat during reconditioning. Okay. Valve protrusion is when the valve sinks further into the head than intended. As a result, the valve extends further into the cylinder, protruding further than others. Some head protruding more than others. Oh, okay, yeah. So you would basically open up. Hold on. Yeah, so these would be your valves. Um, and they open and close and let air in through a tunnel. And then this would be your exhaust or something like that. And it would push the air out, the exhaust out. So what it's saying is that you wanna put it over the valves and check, see if which one's higher up or lower. You wanna make sure all of them are equal. Makes sense. Valve stem maximum 0.30 inches. Max range between valves. Oh, I'm guessing this is like a specific tool then. Machinist rule to measure valve stem installed height. What? Oh, so this is a machinist rule. Put it down and you want to check how high they are. Measure from the tip of the valve to the spring socket in this spring's pocket in the cylinder head. Valve stem gauge height. What the fuck? Flexible metal ruler. Valve spring installed height is measured from the underside of the spring retainer to the spring seat. Like, you see, this is why we don't go in depth at school. It'd be way too much to remember. Like, what is this? Why do you have this here? You put a little contraption. You take these, like, bushings out or something. And you put it back in, and you twist it. Valve spring height micrometer. To what? Check the height or something? Yeah, you want to check for tension. Make sure they're not too tight, or else it'll cause wear. Okay. Technician A says oil viscosity changes with engine temperature. Yeah. Technician B says a faulty oil cooler could result in a coolant leak. Uh, I don't know what an oil cooler is. The only thing that comes to mind is like a transmission oil cooler. But even then, I don't think it would cause a coolant leak. I'm gonna go with A. No. Oil coolers can leak coolant or oil. Inspect the gasket and oil cooler O-rings for leaks. Oil temperature in oil coolers. Water cooled oil cooler. I've never seen this in my life. Engine's oil picks up heat from the engine's moving parts. Heat affects oil viscosity. Hot oil is thinner and flows easily through the engine, and cool oil is thicker. Like a water cooler? What do you mean like a water cooler? Like a radiator? An air-cooled oil cooler typically located behind the grill where ram air cools the oil. Yeah, I'm guessing. I don't know why I didn't think of this. Like a mini radiator for your oil. It's just that newer cars have this kind of shit. There's like... makes sense, yeah. Can't believe I didn't see it sooner. There's like, I think Dodge trucks, like Rams, they have like a cooler for anything. Oh, yeah, I mean, some cars don't have oil coolers, and the oil basically just falls right back into the oil, what do you call it? The oil pan, and the oil pan is supposed to be really thin, so whenever you're not flying, whenever you're going down the road, the air that flows under your car, hits that oil pan, and it cools the air. It cools it with the air, and then it gets used. But these also sometimes have oil coolers, and I'm guessing now that they have water oil coolers, which is probably the same concept, just that it connects with the water pump, probably through here. The water pump pumps water in here, and oil flows through here, and then it also gets cooled. Most engines operate around 195 degrees Fahrenheit to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. When the engine is running hot, the oil is also running hot. Simple tech. Yeah, sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's fucking ridiculous. But it's more efficient. Kind of dumb. Okay. Too much heat results in thermal breakdown. Oil breaks down at 275 degrees Fahrenheit, Therefore, the engine's oil temperature should be kept within 230 to 260 degrees Fahrenheit, or run a few degrees above coolant temperature. A 20-degree increase can half the engine or transmission oil's lifespan. Put some ice in the oil to keep it cold. Yeah, if you do that, you can make your engine blow up too. You can hear like loud pops every time you try to turn it on. It's like uh, it's like using Coke to clean your battery terminals. The little gnomes, they stay in the trunk. Okay, the little gnomes don't be in the engine. They would die. You see how hot it gets in there? I don't think gnomes could handle 260 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, they stay in the cooling. Thin oil is easier to filter, and preventing clogging and restrictions in the heat exchanger is a priority. Oil filter, the adapter. I don't know what all this is talking about, but generally all you have to know is like specific, sort of specific. No, they don't belong there. They're gonna die. No, just have a cooler in the back of your car and put them in the cooler. They're gonna die in the engine. Or put or put them in your hot tub. I just know it's not in the glove box. Exactly. That's what you gotta think about whenever you're taking the test. They're like, whenever you're replacing a transmission, where is the support at? I don't know. It's not in the glove box, and that's how you pass every single test. But just as long as I know that water oil coolers are a thing and that air oil coolers are a thing, I should be fine. Oh, Javier, I forgot to send you a video. I don't know, I'll send it to you right now on Discord. I saw it earlier and I was like, damn, Javier would love this. Trunk monkey, but instead it's a gnome trunk. Deployable gnome for emergency leprechaun attack. Holy shit, with you. Y'all are crazy. A front-wheel drive steering wheel and dashboard vibrate when the brake pedal is applied and the transmission is placed into gear. Most likely cause of this vibration is, I don't think a catalytic converter would do anything regarding this. Faulty fuel injector. Ricardo Milo's video? What are you talking about? What is that? You already seen it? Man. Well, look at it again. Okay, so it's either C or B. I mean C or D. Because it is a front wheel drive. And they have CV joints. A broken engine mount. Constipated from all the coolant and engine oil. Yeah, that causes you to have low performance. Whenever you want to build a race car, the first thing you do is get rid of your gnome, the gnome inside the exhaust system. Ricardo Milo's video. I'm gonna have to do this somewhere else because I don't know what you're making me look up. What the hell? Ped, what are you making me look up? What is this for? I'm not watching this guy dance. He's got a copyright strike. He's a Brazilian stripper? I didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't know that. Alright, back to this. Uh, can we get an engine face cam? What the hell does that mean? Yeah, I guess it's fire, but like I can't put that on here. He's gonna come after me. I'm gonna wake up at 3 in the morning and he's gonna be in my room dancing with his pants off and his underwear. Put the cam in the cooler. I don't have a camera. That's why I have my face up there. It's the broken webcam. I'm gonna put a CV joint. Fuck. Yeah, I guess. That would make sense. So your engine has like these rubber mounts that your engine sits on. Ricardo versus engine bay. Who has more horsepower? Depends on what engine bay you're talking about. Ricardo, Milo's, and the Pizza Party. Fed, what the hell? Versus no, who's hotter? It's the engine. Yeah, so it would be your frame, your chassis, and these like stop rubber things would. I don't think they bolt. They might bolt onto your thing, but PSVR for webcam. I wish, bro. That fucking camera sucks. It looks like a laptop camera, and I used to use a laptop camera, so I know. So yeah, these would it's made out of rubber right here, and when rubber gets old, it becomes stiff and brittle. So over time, these stop doing its job, and what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to like help your engine not shake. So when they're bad, your engine can like jump up. So let me look at a video and show you. Your engine can like start jumping up. It looks like it's like alive or something. No, not how to check it, just like bad engine mounts. How to tell if your engine mounts are bad. Oh yeah, hold on, I need to look at a song so you guys can have something to listen to. I don't like being in the silence either. Give me a second. I gotta add this um audio output capture. Oh wait, what is it doing? No, 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 no. No, 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 she is lying. Application, there you go. I don't know how loud you guys want it. I don't want it to be too loud though. Can y'all even hear it? I don't think you guys can. Alright. Audio output. Where's my. Okay. Maybe I'll just play it through YouTube to be safe. No copyright sounds. Y'all pick one out of this little point. Oh! It steps to get faster every 5 seconds. Strength to slime my engine. I think I'm gonna crash out King Bahan. Luis, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Luis? Oh lord. That's pretty fire, not gonna lie though. Can they just show it? Might be it. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It like Shoko jumps a lot. But it's not showing like the jumping.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Just bump it.
Look how it's moving around.
Yeah, again? Do the same move again. Do it again. Again?
It like moves and shakes and stuff. If you see your engine doing that, you probably got bad engine mounts. I mean, it's probably the only thing. I don't know why I said probably, but it most likely is. Yeah, they break on older vehicles. Is this music too loud or not? You can't even hear me to answer my question. Do y'all think the music is too loud or what? Well, from years of heat and stress, the vibrations are caused by worn or faulty engine and transmission mounts. Pass onto the passenger compartment, dash, and steering wheel. So you'll feel the vibration all over the front of the car. Check if the mounts. Check these mounts if excessive vibration is a problem. Checking the mounts after removing an engine or transmission is wise. They often break or become damaged during removal, especially when contaminated or old. I don't know if you guys have ever had like something that's made out of plastic and it's like solid until you kind of tug on it a little bit and it breaks. That's what they're talking about here. Like, even though they might be solid before you take them out, when you take them off, I mean, yeah, before you take them off and you take them off, sometimes, like, that's when they actually rip or break or crumble. So, that's why you always want to check them whenever you're moving the engine, just in case. Turbocharged. I'm always messed up with turbocharged. I don't think I ever studied, like, forced induction. Turbocharged engine is misfiring and the check engine light is illuminated. A scan for fault code indicates a code P02384, an overboost condition. Which of the following could be the cause? I don't know. But I do know that a turbo is essentially like a vacuum powered by the engine's exhaust. So exhaust would go out of an engine and into the turbo, and the turbo uses that exhaust to spin like an impeller to suck in air, cold air, and then that cold air will go into the engine intake and then More air means you can put more fuel, and you know that means more power. So a wastegate, don't know what a wastegate is, but you know you could maybe it's like excess exhaust gas. You don't really want to use all of it, or intake manifold vacuum leak. I don't know. Stuck closed wastegate, leaking turbocharger oil seals. So you have an overboost condition. I'm guessing something's open. So what's playing? What what is this? I thought it was playing copyright. This guy. Playlists. Geometry Dash. What the hell is that? Is that Rick? Pickle Rick? Okay. Uh, the check engine lights illuminated. I would say this. Fuck. Okay. The turbocharger wastegate controls the turbocharger's output. It opens to divert exhaust from the turbine wheel, depriving it of pressure. A faulty boost sensor, a stuck closed wastegate, or defective control valve solenoid cause excessive boost pressure. Without this necessary reduction in output, excessive manifold cylinder pressure could damage vital engine components. Yeah, okay, so what the hell? So, like I was saying, the exhaust gas will go here. Yeah, so I guess it makes more sense now, you know, reading about it, but if you're not letting any excessive exhaust out, you're going to be constantly spinning the impeller, the turbine, and sucking in a lot of air, which then is going to cause the computer to dump more fuel, because even if you don't want to, you kind of have to, because if you run lean, your engine starts losing a lot of power, and you know it doesn't work right. You can start misfiring, and that's worse than running a lot of power. So if you have this stuck open, you have underboost, meaning you could probably have low boost pressure or lower intake pressure or intake manifold vacuum. I don't know what it's called. So yeah, it has two sides. Turbo is like always really weird. I understand the basics, but I don't know the the complexity in the inside of it. Technician A says worn valve guides result in excessive oil consumption. Technician B says aluminum heads have valve guide inserts. Again, I have no idea what this is talking about. Worn valve guides. Valve guides. I don't know. Okay. Valve guides are small holes machined into a cylinder head that allow up and down movement of the intake and exhaust valves. Oh, okay. That's what that is. Maybe they show it. No, that's piston clearance. What is a valve guide? Never mind, I don't know. Okay. So the valve guide is just these little holes right here, drilled into the head. Okay. Well, I don't remember the question. We move on to a different topic. Valve guides result in excessive oil consumption. Yeah, actually, that makes sense now that I read it. So, oil is being run through here to lubricate the in and out of the valve. You don't really want a valve down here because if the valve opens and there's oil here, it can get inside your cylinder, and if you burn oil, your exhaust will come out like very, very light blue. So, if you have consistent uh light blue smoke, that's bad. That means you're burning up your engine oil. It means you got a valve broken, or this valve guide is like really fucked up or something. Or engine oil is just getting into your cylinder somehow. I don't know. Maybe the gnome dug a hole from the head straight into the pistons of the cylinder. But but yeah, you want to have this be like snug to it. Aluminum heads have valve guide inserts. I don't know what a valve guide insert is. Oh, okay. So valve guide insert. I'm guessing it's the removable one, which is like, yeah, I guess that's what it is. The insert. You put the valve in, and you put the spring in on top of the valve. Oh no, you put the valve in through the insert, and you put this. You slide it inside to snug it up. Then you put the spring over and then cover it at that. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Let's do air conditioning now, cause I gotta work on that too. Let's go to these last ones, cause I already did all the first ones. Technician A says that evacuating an air conditioning system will remove air, debris, and moisture. Technician B says to evacuate the system whenever it's been exposed to the atmosphere. I don't. No, I don't think so. For Technician B, because the system is exposed to the atmosphere. In what way, though? That's the confusing part. Technician A says evacuating the air conditioning system will remove air, debris, and moisture. I don't think it'll remove debris, but I don't know. Let's take a guess. I just guess that A is correct. Okay. Evacuating the system will remove moisture. Flushing the system will remove debris and metal. Always evacuate the system if it's exposed to the atmosphere. Moisture in an R134A system requires it mixes and reacts with refrigerant and oil. It forms a corrosive hydrochloric acid that corrodes lines and clogs screens. Moisture. Okay, yeah, so you don't want to have moisture in your refrigerant. When sealed AC is drawn into the vacuum, any moisture boils in the vapor expelled by the pump. The end. During performance tests on a CCOT AC system, The manifold gauge set indicates that low side pressure is high and a high side pressure is low. This test results indicates... Okay. What the hell am I listening to, bro? I want something chill. Angry mood. Free drum and bass music you'll love. Melodic dubstep. Alright, bro. Okay, I don't want to listen to this. Growtopia. Oh, it's so hard to figure, like... Drift funk? Oh shit. No copyright sounds shorts. What the hell, boy? Emotional songs, sad song, best of no copyright sounds. Okay, yeah, this is good right here. Okay. So, your AC system, there's two basic types of AC systems. There's a CCOT, which has an orifice tube. So all an orifice tube is like a tiny little hole to force liquid to turn into a vapor. So your Windex sprayer, that little tiny opening at the end would be like an orifice tube. So this orifice tube is like a tiny hole, and then this like pressurized fluid, the refrigerant, goes through that little orifice tube and becomes vapor, right? And there's another system called a TXV, temperature expansion valve, or thermal expansion valve. It basically uses heat to expand or contract the size of the opening. So there's like a sensor that goes from the expansion valve that gets heat from a part of the AC system, and depending on that, it'll open up the expansion valve or close it. And if it's tighter, it'll cause more vapor. If it's wider, it'll cause less vapor. The reason why that's important is because your refrigerant, it has like a lot of names, but it's Freon. Freon, whenever it changes states, it becomes really cold. And so that's why whenever it becomes like a liquid and it expands into a vapor, it becomes really cold. So whenever you have a tight opening, you cause a lot of vapor and it becomes really cold. And if it has less vapor, less cold. And it'll adjust based off the temperature coming out of a different component. And, you know, it just kind of regulates itself. This CCOT system, it's called that because it has an orifice tube. You know, that's what the OT stands for. And a TXV has an expansion valve. So this they put this shit in here to mess you up for whoever's not paying attention, like Fitch said. This wouldn't be the answer because it's not, you know, this is talking about a CCOT system. And another thing, your entire AC system has two sides. It has a high pressure side and a low pressure side. Generally, your high pressure side is around 230 maybe, like on a 70 degrees, like 60% humidity or something like that. It's normally at 230 something psi. Your low side is usually around like 40, 45 psi. And so it's indicating that your low pressure is high and the high pressure is low. There's a lot of components that go in between, like, you know, that dictate how the pressure is, but a bad compressor, would suck in from the low side and compress the freon into high pressure, right? So if you got a bad compressor, it's not sucking and it's not blowing. So if it wasn't sucking, your high pressure, your low pressure would be high, and your high pressure would be low because it's not putting out enough pressure. So I would say it's a bad compressor. Another thing, in your AC system, there is like a can, like an aluminum can or metal can, like a big cylinder that is either called a dryer, a receiver dryer, or an accumulator. And what it has, it has inside a bag full of desiccant. So like, you know how you buy shoes or whatnot, and it has like that little silica pack to absorb the moisture? That's all that desiccant bag is. Moisture that gets inside the system goes into that accumulator or the receiver dryer, and it absorbs the moisture. It also holds oil and allows oil to, you know, steadily go into the refrigerant, because you need oil to have the compressor, you know, work to lubricate it. But in a CCLT system, you have an accumulator, not a dryer. An accumulator is found on the low pressure side, and a dryer is found on the high pressure side. So it can't be these two. And a condenser, I don't. No, a condenser wouldn't do that. I'm gonna end up explaining the entire AC system, so I'm just gonna, you know. A vehicle's passenger heating system is set to max heat, but blows warm air only. All the following will cause this condition except. Okay, so it's kind of intuitive, and it's really fascinating to me when I think about it. But you know how your engine creates heat, right? And the job of coolant is to transfer that heat from the engine and put it into the radiator, so that the radiator, you know, radiates the heat and cools the coolant, and the cycle continues. There is coolant that goes from the engine to a second like tiny mini radiator, and it's called a heater core. So this is basically what it is. It's like a tiny little radiator that is inside your dash, and it uses the engine's heat to create heat for you to use if you know it's cold. So it, like, yeah, I just explained it. Yeah, it basically uses the engine's heat from the coolant, and it passes through the, you know, the heater core, and from the heater core it goes back into the radiator or something. And so Your heater core uses coolant, right? And not Freon. It uses coolant, or and not water or anything. It uses the whatever's inside your cooling system. So this person has their system set to max heat, but it only blows warm air. So if you have whatever temperature your car is, that's the temperature that's gonna go into the heater core. So that's why sometimes whenever you first start up your car in the morning, and you put the heater up all the way, it doesn't start immediately like blowing out hot air because your engine still has to heat up first. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, that's why when you first start up your car, it might not blow heat immediately because your car hasn't heated up yet. Okay, so now to the question. An air pocket in the heater core. If you have an air pocket in the heater core, I don't know. It's a I honestly don't know what that would cause. I know it's not good, because that means you got, you know, air in your system. You don't really want having air in there, but restricted heater control valve. So if I am correct, some cars have a heater control valve that basically changes the amount of coolant that goes into the heater core. Let me look it up. Calf. It regulates the flow of hot coolant to the heater core. Yeah. I'm guessing it uses like a sensor. Hello. I'm guessing it uses like a sensor or something, or another sensor like tells the control valve what to do or whatnot, or maybe it uses a temperature like sensor to like automatically do it on its own or something. But yeah, if you have a restricted heater control valve, that means no coolant can get in, but it says it's blowing warm air. So if it was blowing cold air, then it probably wouldn't be a restricted coolant control valve, because, you know, a weak engine cooling fan motor. So since the heater core is also connected to your cooling system, and your cooling system uses like the radiator fan to help cool the fluid down. If your engine is overheating because your fan isn't working, then that means your heater core is gonna be really hot too, because, you know, all the coolant is hot. So it wouldn't be this, a clogged heater core. A clogged heater core. It also kind of shows like, or you know, tells me the same thing as like A and D, and B and D, but I don't know. Oh, except that's another thing I forgot. I didn't even read that. So, yeah, some of these questions will do this kind of make trick you. So I'm gonna say this one because, you know, that's clearly not gonna do anything about you. It's not gonna make it not blow hot air. Air pocket in the healer reduces the performance and results in a gurgling sound under the dash. But yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so a fixed orifice tube is removed from the high side of a CCOT air conditioning system. Metal debris is clogging the inlet screen. This metal debris is mostly caused by ruptured desiccant bag. Desiccant bag doesn't have metal in it. The evaporator core. There's no movement components in the evaporator core. And the evaporator is on the low side of the system. So it wouldn't be from an evaporator core. Warm compressor. A compressor is made out of metal. So like not having enough oil would cause it to start like chipping away and like, you know, scraping the edge of the cylinder and causing those little metal shavings to go into your system. In the condenser, same thing with the evaporator. There's no real moving components, so it has to be the compressor. Technician A says an expansion valve reduces refrigerant pressure as it enters the evaporator core. Yeah, I explained it earlier. It uses a temperature sensor to read the temperature coming from the outlet side of the, what do you call it, of the evaporator. And then it adjusts it from that temperature. It adjusts if it needs to be, you know, the hole needs to be smaller or larger. Technician B says the expansion valve is fastened to the inlet port of the evaporator core. Yeah, that makes sense. I'd say both. Yeah. Technician, we're going back here. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I already did it. Okay. I feel like I should only do like these 5 and then have it over. It's been like, I think it's only been an hour. How long have I been streaming for? Can I even tell? Yeah, like an hour 34 minutes, so that's fine. I'm getting tired anyway. Okay. Component A in the electrical diagram above has all of the following characteristics except, okay, so let's see here. It is a negative temperature coefficient sensor. Engine coolant. It is a thermistor. It is a variable sensor. It is a switch. I think this was not there. Yeah, cause this would be your ground. These would be connectings. This would be your resistor, and this goes somewhere else. And this would be like your it's like a resistor, but I think since it's like crossing, then it'll be like a variable temperature resistor. So, bro, it's so late. Anyway, alright, bro. Yeah, it's not a switch. Switch should, you know, only connect points. This is resistance. This little squiggly, not squiggly, just like sharp cricket line would be resistance, and this would be like your not a lot. You missed an entire like lesson on AC systems. A frozen spot is noticed in the center of the condenser. Technician A says frost on the component or connection indicates a restriction at that point in the system. Technician B says the frost is caused by a clogged orifice tube. Okay, so I need to look this up. I have sort of a vague idea. But condenser freezing up in the middle of an AC unit is due to insufficient airflow, allowing moisture to condense and freeze on the coils. This lack of airflow can be caused by a dirty filter, restricted vents, or a faulty. I have to like. Low refrigerant levels or a blockage restricting airflow. Dirty air filter or blocked vents restrict airflow to the evaporator coils according to FJC. Okay. Restriction at that point in the system. It makes sense to me, cause like I said, whenever the hot liquid sort of like depressurizes, it becomes really cold. So I'd say that makes sense. Technician B says this frost is caused by a clogged orifice tube, and I don't think that's it, because if you had a clogged orifice tube, it would just cause there to be an excessive amount of pressure in the condenser and on the high side. I'm gonna just go with A. Yeah. A clogged orifice tube will result in a frozen spot on the line containing the fixed orifice tube. Well, I guess I wasn't, that right, but clogged orifice tube results frozen spot on the line containing the fixed orifice tube. Yeah, that makes sense. A restriction in the line or component acts as a metering device that changes the system's pressure. This change in pressure results in the temperature change, resulting in a frost at the point of restriction. Yeah, that's basically what I was saying. Since it changes the pressure of the freon, it causes the freon to become really cold, and it frosts where the restriction is. A vehicle's air conditioning only blows warm air, and the yellow substance is seen around the evaporator case drip tube. Technician A says this is coolant leaking from the heater core. Technician B says this is fluorescent dye leaking from the evaporator core. Okay, this is a little tricky, but I think, okay, so it blows warm air, only blows warm air, and the yellow substance has been seen around the evaporator case drip tube. Now I don't think it is, but both your evaporator and your heater core are inside of your dash. So having this like yellow substance pouring from the evaporator case wouldn't make much sense for it to be coolant, because they're just not together. I don't think A is correct. I think B is correct. Yeah. Because poor air conditioning is the original problem. There's most likely a leak in the evaporator core. Yeah, your evaporator core is responsible for the cold air, and your heater core is responsible for your warm air. So it was saying it only blew warm air, so that means your problem is in the evaporator. And whenever you're testing it, sometimes it's really hard to find a leak, because sometimes it's like vapor and sometimes it's liquid, and sometimes it's just hard to see because it's an engine bay. It's a bunch filled with a bunch of stuff. So you would use like fluorescent dye, and then use like a black light to try to see where the liquid is coming from, because then it'd be easier to see. And here this they're explaining it. Dye is injected into the system with hard to find leaks. The leak turns fluorescent yellow and is brought to light with a special light and glasses. So yeah. R134A refrigerant um, changes from a vapor to a liquid as it absorbs heat. Containers are a sky blue colored, has a very high boiling point, contains chlorine. I think so. There's like 3 main types, but there's like a ton of different types of refrigerants. But this one, I know for a fact it has this blue colored container. The old one has chlorine in it, and I think it is the old one too that has a high boiling point. And this one, I think that all these are talking about old one, and then this one just be it. Refrigerants have a low boiling point. I guess, yeah, that's just not true. R134A changes from a liquid to a vapor as it receives heat energy and boils in the evaporator. A vehicle's cooling system is losing coolant. A pressure test is being performed and no leaks are found. Which of the following is most likely causing this condition? Okay. So it's losing coolant, and they pressure tested it and no leaks were found. So no leaks were found under pressure. A leaking water pump. I don't know. A faulty radiator pressure cap. I don't think so. That's just what it's called. A leaking radiator. I'm pretty sure if it was leaking from a radiator or a water pump, then you would see the leaks because those are like pretty external and easy to find. Leaking heater core. It could be it, yeah, because it's inside your dash. It's hard to find it if you're not looking in there specifically. You would have to take out the entire dash and check it. So I'm gonna say the heater core. No. Radiator cap should be pressure tested. Faulty radiator cap allows the coolant to leak past its seal and never flow from the recovery system. Okay. Well, I guess the heater core is external leak. That's kind of dumb. The radiator cap is right there in front of you. How would you not know if there was leaking coolant? How dumb it is. Anyway, I think that's enough studying for today. Hope y'all learned something. Aside me, because I know he just got here, and I know he's not even paying attention. But I'm so tired. I'm gonna test sometime in the first week of May, maybe, or the second week of May. And I'm gonna try to get heating, because last time I took 2 tests. I took brakes and I took air conditioning, and I only passed brakes, but I missed air conditioning by like 4 questions. So evidently it's not super hard. It's just I wasn't prepared and I had to do like, what is it called? A crash course on HVAC, cause turns out it was a lot harder than I thought it was. But either way, um I did end up learning a lot. Yeah. Why'd you bring that up? I I really don't know how delayed the stream is, so um anyway, yeah. So I got testing sometime in May, and I gotta study until then. It's kind of annoying though, 'cause usually we would learn. Okay, well, back in the I don't want to say like World War II specifically, but back in the olden times, Chop Dabo. Back at older times, to prevent like spying and still be able to get messages out there, they would get on these radio stations and they would put out numbers. Um, and when you had a message to be like, when you had to receive a message, they would tell you, okay, tune in at this specific time, and then you would start reading the numbers that come up, and then that would be your message. But they would like repeatedly send out numbers, and some of them are still up now. So whenever you sometimes people tune into them and they just hear like these creepy, radio stations just spewing out numbers, and no one really has an explanation why they're still going on. Maybe they're automated, maybe they're still using them for, messages. I don't really know, but that's what it is. It's just like a secret way to tell somebody something. Um, I'm pretty sure it's like I don't know, but sometimes some like German or Russian thing. I don't know, but it's something over there that they use. I don't think they do that here in the U.S. Well, nothing. It's just you know, if I wanted them to know about it, so yeah. Um. Oh yeah, I went to the an art museum today. It was pretty cool. I saw a lot of cool art. It was downtown. I don't actually don't know what it's called, but I saw a lot of art. It was really cool. I saw a lot of chairs there, and it was really funny. I ended up taking pictures of like 20 something chairs probably. I try to take I try to take like pictures of every single chair that I found that was, up for display. Obviously, there's a lot of benches and little seats for you to take a seat in. I don't know. I don't I think it was like map. Uh, no, I can't. I guess it wasn't map. This one, I guess. Yeah, this one was it. It was really cool. Uh, I don't think I went here, but I did go in here. It's really cool. It has like this. No, I don't know what they call cheese in Paris. How about you enlighten me? Anyway, they this is actually like concave. It's like pushed in, but they use like these lights around here, and it really does look like there's a wall here this whole time. Really? That's funny. But yeah, you can stick your hand out and it'll go through because the wall is actually right here. And it's just kind of it's made to look like there's a wall here. It's called the fromage. They call it the fromage. I don't know why it doesn't pop up in the chat, but it pops up in the stream. Anyway, this was also kind of cool. I thought it was kind of lame to be honest. It's just like a tunnel and it's just like a light. It's pretty to look at, but there's a oh my god. I took a picture on the Vita with this one and this one. I didn't get to see everything, but I did see a good chunk of it. And it was really cool. My favorite part was I can't say if it was, I think it might have been like, uh, let me think. Might have been like UK art, like art from England. But they had like these really nice portraits. It was really nice. This was cool too, like this big mural. Apparently when you donate like a specific amount of money, they carve your name into this big wall. This was pretty cool too. They had, yeah, this tunnel right here, it has like only yellow light. So whenever you look at yourself and anything on your shirt, if it's colored, it looks like it's black and white because there's no white light. And it's crazy. It was really cool. I saw like the abstract art. I really liked it. There was like a section for uh like love, and you could see like cool uh paintings of like, you know, of like couples, sorta. I wouldn't say couples, but there was like there's also this cool like table that had like a projector on top of it, and it was like projecting onto the plates at the table, and the plates were like moving around and stuff. It was cool. I didn't go outside and see the art. We stayed inside the whole time, but it's it's a pretty big building. I'm surprised at how big it is. I saw this. My friend said this looked like a dog. I said it looked more like a horse, but yeah, it was really fun. I took a lot of pictures. Whoa, what is that? Looks like a chicken. I think this is like a human exhibition though. Like exaggerated sculptures or something. That's really cool. Yeah, I was like, I haven't been to a field trip in over like 7 years, I think. Like, I can't even remember. It was like one old chair, one yellow tunnel. I think I'd rather have well, one old chair. I don't think I'd like to see like black and white forever, or not forever, but just have like a room. It's just like you go in there and you see yellow, only yellow light, then you go out and you hurt your eyes because you have all these other colored lights in there outside of the room or the tunnel. I really wish I took an actual camera that I had instead of taking the stupid Vita and taking pictures on the shitty camera that they have. So, cause I have one. It's right here. I don't know why I didn't think of bringing it. But but yeah, I really wish I did take that, cause I probably would have gotten a lot better photos. But I don't know. I'll go some other time probably. I really want to revisit the zoo. the Museum of History, and then this Museum of Art. Cause I was going for 20 minutes, whatever it is. You missed everything, bro. We finished studying. We went to the moon. We finished uncovering the secrets of the Egyptian tower. I mean pyramids. You missed a lot, bro. We found out the aliens didn't build the pyramids, and the Egyptians were just that smart. But no, I was just talking about our trip to the field trip today. What video? Are you gonna send it to me? What video, man? I don't know if you sent it to me or what. Why all warning systems? Do you want to watch it like on stream? I don't know if I can watch YouTube on stream. Put it on chat and pause every so often and give your opinions. You can. Okay. Um. Okay, so it was. Or ES or something. That's not it. Oh, that's. I gotta type it all out. But what the hell, boy? Alright, now I gotta look it up by the guy who made it. By a hint. Okay.
In horror movies, you
25
usually get a
minutes.
warning when something bad is about to happen. The signs are all there. The music changes. The camera angle shifts. When it happens, I always cover my eyes, but not completely. I want to know, what is behind that door? I know that it's going to be bad. And yet, I want to see. Chapter 1. The Storm.
Yo, what the fuck? What happened? Oh, tumbleweeds. Dang, that boy got covered up.
On New Year's Eve of the year 2020, a giant storm of tumbleweeds overtook a stretch of highway in Washington state.
Oh my god.
The storm was so big that the state police spent 10 hours digging up cars and trucks buried
That's
under thousands
crazy.
of plants.
Where did they say this was?
That the state police highway in Washington state.
Washington.
The
Holy shit,
storm was so big
what?
that the state police spent 10 hours digging up cars and trucks buried under thousands.
Washington State? I don't believe that.
The storm was so big that the state police spent 10 hours digging up cars and trucks buried under thousands of plants. It was beautiful. Tumbleweed is a
That is
tough
pretty cool,
and highly
though.
invasive plant.
Damn.
Its roots can creep 20 feet down, drawing water even from the driest soils. That's why it can grow where almost nothing else can. Every winter, the roots of tumbleweeds dry up, allowing the plant to break free. Tumbleweeds are so light that the wind carries them for hundreds of miles, scattering seeds with every roll.
Damn, Washington just be living in like the western
Washington
Holy
State is no
shit.
stranger to them. They grow, spin, and tumble across all the western states. But in the area around Richland, tumbleweeds are a more serious issue. Here, this symbol of western nature conceals another, invisible, danger. A 9-minute drive away from the 2020 tumbleweed accident, and you'll find yourself here. This is the Hanford site, a toxic relic of the Manhattan Project. The plutonium produced here powered both the world's first atomic bomb and the Fat Man bomb dropped on Nagasaki.
Oh no.
Now, the Hanford site is harboring the aftermath of the 20th century warfare rivalry.
Are like radioactive tumbleweeds
56
growing?
million gallons of high-level radioactive waste in aging underground tanks. 70 years ago, waste was a secondary issue. We didn't know how to properly manage it yet, but something has to be done. We wanted solutions, fast.
Damn.
Hanford's waste was buried
The
on the
atomic
spot,
bombs are so
sealed
scary.
away in massive underground steel tanks. Well, not all of it. Some waste got dumped into
What
the
the
ocean.
fuck, man?
Once, the Navy even fired a machine gun at waste barrels because they wouldn't sink. Yeah, that's a real story. But
That's
let's
messed
get back
up.
to dry land.
And they all dead too now. Probably radiation poisoning. Shit, bro, this looks scary, man.
For many years now, decaying Hanford tanks have been leaking. Radiation gets into the soil, tumbleweeds can suck it up and roll off, spreading radiation across the state.
So yeah, they
There's
do.
a small chance of this happening, but even if it does, the radiation levels would be minimal. But still, it
Pretty
makes
bad.
people nervous. That's why at Hanford, tumbleweeds are being watched, chased, checked, buried, or burned.
Damn.
Contaminated weeds are stuffed into bags, crushed and disposed of in low-level waste trenches. Others are thrown into fire. The Hanford site cleanup is a multi-stage, long-term, costly process that began in 1989.
It's kind of crazy how because of that, what was it, the Cold War? And just like the hurry to do something, they did not care. And now there's like a bunch of people having to deal with this, and that's crazy. Possibility of radioactive tumbleweeds going around the land. And then they have tornado storms or whatever that was, like a whirlwind, throwing them all over the place. That's bad.
And is still not finished. In the Department of Energy's own words,
Hanford is rapidly advancing capabilities to address 56 million gallons of radioactive waste stored in 177 underground tanks.
And it's not just Hanford. The Savannah River site in the US, Sellafield in the UK, Mayak in Russia, the first generation of nuclear storage facilities starting to fail everywhere. But it wasn't supposed to be like this. All of the US's high-level radioactive waste was meant to be moved and buried in one secure, carefully chosen remote location. All of it. So, what happened? In the relative relatively brief span of our nuclear power history, we have produced tens of thousands of tons of high-level radioactive waste which will remain hazardous for longer than the pyramids have existed.
That's crazy.
Till the late 70s, we hadn't given it much thought. It was more fun to make radioactive cosmetics and glow-in-the-dark everything. But in 1979, the reactor of the 3 Mile Island nuclear station melted down. You can listen to the story in a much more uplifting tone.
It was the first step in a nuclear nightmare. As far as we know at this hour, no worse than that. But a government official said that a breakdown in an atomic power plant in Pennsylvania today is probably the worst nuclear reactor accident to date.
In reality, it was a minor accident, but everyone got really scared, and regulations began to tighten.
The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has already begun a complete investigation into today's accident.
The Nuclear Waste Policy Act of 1982, which I'm signing today, provides the long overdue assurance that we now have a safe and effective solution to the nuclear waste problem.
In 1982, the nuclear
like little
waste
frogs
policy
running around with
act
guns
established a plan for
shooting
managing
at other little
high-level
worms.
waste, burying it permanently in a place so deep and so dry that water hadn't reached it for millions of years. It takes time to find a place like this. A lot of time. It takes even more time to convince taxpayers and officials that the proposal is safe and worth their money. But in 1986, the Bolsheviks' infamous desire to be thrifty led to the Chernobyl disaster, a warning for the whole world. It was time to act.
Shit.
Chapter 2. There will be judgment.
Nuclear reactors are super scary, to be honest. I know it's not that bad of like a power source. It is generally clean, and it provides like a lot of power. But I don't know. I feel like if you wanted to have like nuclear reactors, it'd be like somewhere safe, somewhere where we would just have to take a good care of it. And I know definitely the people don't like it, like that idea, because of like what happened in Chernobyl, and they're like, oh, we're gonna get radiated and this and that, and they're just scared. But yeah, but it's just
In the middle
fear.
of the 19th century, a group of pioneers was heading south, enchanted, as were many, by the promise of gold in California. It was too late to safely cross the Sierra Nevada, and they were going to have to wait out the winter in Salt Lake City. That's when they learned about the Old Spanish Trail, a route from the legends based on the paths of the 16th century Spanish explorers. Though only one of them had traveled the route before, they decided to take their chances. They came all this way, there was no stopping now. And to move even faster, they made a shortcut, straight through here. A 2-week trip turned into a 2-month trip. Water was nowhere, literally nowhere to be found. When their last
Planets that burn coal or gas. Yeah, and the thing is that it's completely possible to just start building nuclear reactors now. But like I said, it's just like, yeah, it's just really scary to people because of what happened in Chernobyl. And yeah, misinformation. They think like nuclear bombs the radiation lasts forever and whatnot, but it's just a lot of misinformation, uneducation that keeps people afraid of things. And also, the fear of losing money, all the gas companies that don't want to lose that money. So, or electric companies and all of that.
oxen died, they abandoned their wagons and walked further, in the unbearable heat. As they were leaving this place, one of them looked back and named it Death Valley.
Damn. Plus
Death
aura.
Valley is one of the driest places on Earth, landlocked this whole region is. The Sierra Nevada mountains block moisture from reaching this area. The average yearly rainfall here is less than 6 inches.
That's really interesting.
That's partly the reason why.
It's kind of interesting to think that like that's like actually a thing, that like the mountains and the they block the moisture. Yeah. But yeah, it's because you would think like the air could just go over it because it's like it's they're not that big of mountains compared to others, but it's kind of crazy. Some things you don't think about, and you kind of they tell you, and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
This region is often chosen for nuclear experiments. Rain doesn't fall here. Wind doesn't blow. The dryness, the isolation, and the vast empty landscapes create ideal conditions for storing something dangerous.
Damn.
Notice this area with no landmarks? This is the Yucca Mountain. In 1987, only a year after the Chernobyl disaster, it was approved as a deep geological repository for high-level radioactive waste.
I don't know about y'all, but I find like these kind of things really creepy. Like creepy in a sense, like imagine being in this massive, just like massive, like like storage facility, and it's like all underground. It's kind of has this like creepy, like darkness to it.
Notice this area
Like
with
in
no
that tunnel
landmarks?
that
This
tunnel that it
is
showed.
the Yucca Mountain. In 1987, only a year after the Chernobyl disaster, it was approved as a deep geological repository for high-level radioactive waste.
Look, like this. Like imagine walking around here. Like, and it's like kind of dark here. Like, it's just really, really creepy to me.
Yucca Mountain was supposed to start accepting waste by the end of 1998. That waste was to be sealed in corrosion-resistant containers and placed in chambers about 300 meters underground, where the dry environment and stable geology would keep it isolated forever. But what does forever mean? Well, it's not literally forever.
Now.
Nuclear waste becomes less harmful with time, but depending on the isotopes, it could be 10,000 years, or 24,000 years, or 1,000,000 years. Till then, no one is allowed inside. But how can we ensure it? Of course, the U.S. Department of Energy will keep everyone out, as long as there is a U.S. Department of Energy, as long as there is a U.S. Humans have only started keeping track of history about 5,500 years ago, and look how many things have happened since then. What will happen in twice this time?
That's crazy. That's a good thing to think
How can
about.
we make sure that future people will not dig this place up? You may think that
That'd be cool, to be honest. Like as like a concept, imagine it's like what is it, like Black Ops 3 zombies, where they go and they're like out mining and they let out a curse, but instead it's like it turns out that this storage facility has been bad for like so long, and there's so much nuclear waste floating in there, and like they open it, they let out all this radiation, and then big storm flies by or something, and it fucks up the entire world. That'd be cool. Black Ops 2 Origins. Oh yeah, it's also in 3, but Origins, that's what I'm thinking about.
this is an engineering problem. Thick walls, deep tunnels, but the pyramids had all that. One of the most famous pyramid raiders, Caliph al-Mamun, didn't find an entrance, so he just decided to carve one. The tunnel is still there,
Dang.
on the north side. Egyptian tombs even had vague warnings, curses for thieves, like, there will be judgment. Your heir will not inherit. An end shall be made for those who enter. Not much of a
Damn.
warning, but surely it worked for some time. But what if the warnings were not vague? What if it was something like, your empire will fall and you will vote for Brexit? Would that have stopped these fine gentlemen? What kind of message can stop humans in 10,000 years? Chapter 3. The sun is shining at the cemetery. This is the ionizing radiation trefoil, used since 1946. We know it well. The circle in the middle represents an atom, and the 3 blades represent 3 types of ionizing radiation: alpha, beta,
I
and gamma.
really
In the
like this
50s, we
kind of
experimented with
editing
colors,
style.
but settled on yellow. It was proven to attract
It's
the most
really
attention.
interesting.
But what if you have never seen it before? I know this sign from the movies and video games, not from real life. But 21% of the world's population don't have a TV, and only 54% own a smartphone. And I doubt people discuss hazard signs enough to spread the word. So to them, it could look like a ship propeller, or an air screw, or the sun. Because of this, in 2007, an additional sign was introduced. This is intended to be a secondary alert if the trefoil symbol fails. I think the creators of this did a really bad job. If I had never seen a radiation symbol, then this could read as, the sun is shining at the cemetery, go right. But how can we explain radiation to someone unaware of its existence? How can you portray a
Bro.
lethal, invisible force with immense longevity, which you cannot see, touch, or smell? And how can you deliver an image so clear, so universal, that it remains understandable for the next tens of thousands of years?
This is
This is a
something that
challenging problem.
like I've heard a lot of people talk about, and it's like yeah, man, it's like it's like the same thing. If you were to talk to like aliens or something, like how would you ever communicate with them? It's like the same kind of thing, and it's really tricky. I hope this video kind of tells you how you could do a better job.
The
This is
U.S.
really
Department of
interesting.
Energy tried to solve it twice. 2 teams were assembled, one in 1981 and another in 1983.
The Stalker series. This. Story about survival in the zone. It's a dangerous place where you fear not only the radiation but anomalies. Isn't this like Metro Redux? Yeah, it's just really weird because even if even if you even if you wrote down math, right, as your quote unquote like language to try to explain things to people, I still feel like probably not every species has figured out like a math system. Oh, yeah, it looks cool. I've kind of like these oh, that shit looks pretty cool. I've kind of like these what do you call it? I don't want to say apocalypse, but like damn. It's like a genre. It's like basically like worst case scenario kind of thing. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, hold on. I'll be back. I gotta use the restroom. Hello? Okay. No, survival game. That's not what I mean. It's trying to figure it out. (1984). That's what it was called. Dystopian. That's what I wanted. Is dystopian. I didn't want to use like survival or apocalypse because it is sort of like post-apocalypse. But I wanted to see if I can remember that word. But yeah, like I was saying, it's just Vanquish Soul is getting new support in the next set. Is that a Pokemon? Not Pokemon, my bad. Yu-Gi-Oh? A Yu-Gi-Oh set or something? That's not dystopian. Okay, well what is dystopian? To my knowledge, dystopian is like worst scenario. Like things go wrong and they're living in like a world where everything sort of failed or something. Cause I mean I was reading that book, 1984 for English, and that's what it was. And it was just like, even though it was more dealing with like government control and whatnot, um, that's kind of how I was explaining what dystopian was. Big Body Brothers, all over the place. Look at that Sonic. Relating to or denotating an imagined state or society where there is great suffering or injustice. Hmm. You could call it dystopian, maybe. Like, society isn't crumble because of the nuclear power plant or whatever went wrong. Yeah. Well, you get my point. It's like apocalyptic.
Engineers, geologists, archaeologists, linguists, astronomers, experts in nonverbal
Injustice,
communication,
2 cents on
and even
stream.
sci-fi
Not
writers
worth it.
were brought together.
Oh, on Steam. Yes, bro. Injustice is not worth it. I told you, don't even waste 2 cents on Injustice. It's not that good. Like he likes Mortal Kombat. Why would you want to spend it on Injustice when Injustice plays completely differently and it's not at all like Mortal Kombat?
To decide on the best way to talk to the future. This was the 80s. So, of course, many ideas were, well, like in the 80s.
Damn.
Here are only some of them. To create an atomic priesthood that will pass down knowledge about the nuclear sites. To construct an artificial moon engraved with messages, visible in the night sky and impossible to forget. And internet's favorite, to breed cats.
What do you mean? Before you wreck yourself. Boy, what is you talking about?
That would change color in the presence of radiation.
Armed robbery for that game. What'd I tell you? That game is not worth 2 cents. Game sucks. I played it too. It's not that good.
Acting as a living Geiger counter.
You know what else sucks? Mortal Kombat versus DC, bro. I remember back when I was younger, um, I used to go to my brother's house, and he had his like his little nephew. I think that's what it was. His little nephew, and he was so good at fighting games, and I kept playing as Batman. He kept talking like shit about Batman, and he kept beating me up. So it's like, damn, I can't do nothing about it. It's like I'm gonna need the Hulk for the 3DS. It's not for the 3DS, it's for the DS, but dude, it sucks. You wanna see it? You don't know what you're talking about, fam. Look, they don't even have gameplay of it. I know I'm in the photos, but look at this. Tell me that's good. And this is high res. This is like on an emulator. Shut up, Fred. You don't even like Hulk. Look, it's on an emulator. Probably playing this on his phone. It's not that bad though, to be honest. It's just like, oh, damn! How delayed is the audio, the chat, and the video? What? You're lying, bro. I don't know. Shut up, Vigor.
My name is Bruce Banner.
Oh, probably why I'll show that. Look at this shit, bro. Tell me this is fun. Nah, I don't even like fighting games. 15 seconds. How do you know? Look, this guy can't even figure it out. He's mad. He's gonna start turning into the Hulk. Shit, like old Donkey Kong Country. It's not good, I'm telling you. And the Hulk for the Game Boy Advance is even worse. I'm so sad they don't have like good Hulk games, because Hulk is such like a cool concept. You're playing this big, strong guy. He's 32. How do you know that? What's this?
What's the fastest speed Iron Man has ever reached? Iron Man is known for creating different variations.
Okay, never mind. I don't want to watch this. Counter from when I sent the message to when you read it. Oh. I guess that makes sense, yeah. Alright, yeah, let's keep watching the video though, cause
Unfortunately, none of these suggestions were taken seriously. Eventually, both research teams chose to follow a more traditional route. Chapter 4. This place is a message. There are many examples of ancient monument sites that have survived till today. Though we still don't know the purpose behind many of them, a monument is a familiar and somewhat reliable way of transmitting messages across generations. All over the coast of Japan, you can still find 600-year-old tsunami stones, telling people not to build their homes any closer to the water. Everything below the stones will be washed away if a big wave comes.
Shut up, bro. I can't have this at like complete live. My Wi-Fi isn't fast enough for that.
Ancient monuments like these can help us understand what makes something indestructible. Hard crystalline rocks such as granite, basalt, and sandstone are proven to be the safest from both people and weather. The bigger the better. Monoliths are harder to destroy and harder to drag away. But what kind of monuments would drive people away rather than towards them? What should such a place
it's really
look
cool
like?
and like interesting.
To achieve that effect, it should look shunned,
Bro.
poisoned, destroyed, unusable, ugly, uncomfortable. So the natural thing to start with is to look at things we find beautiful, ideal, or inspiring, and do the opposite of that. No sky-reaching verticals, no obelisks, no forms of symmetrical geometry, no visible center, nothing perfect. As
That's
if its builders
interesting.
knew about the ideal and perfection, but asserted that this place is not about them. Scientists suggested several designs for the entire site. Let's look at 3 of them, each more threatening than the last. Spikes and thorns. These shapes suggest danger to the body. They seem active, in motion out and up, moving in various directions. They are irregular or non-repetitive in their shape, location, and direction. They seem not controlled, somewhat chaotic.
That's
Rubble
interesting.
landscape. An enormous landscape of large stone rubble, one that is very inhospitable, being hard to walk on and difficult to bring machinery onto. It is a place that feels destroyed, rather than one that has been made. And my favorite, the black hole. A masonry slab, either of black basalt rock or black dyed concrete, is an image of an enormous black hole, an immense nothing, a void, land removed from
That's
use
crazy.
with nothing left behind, a useless place.
I know, lol. When I was stream, it was like y'all ain't know. I would really have a minute delay. I'd wait for a response like a dumbass. The streams was that delayed. Bro.
It both looks uninhabitable and unfarmable. Its blackness absorbs the desert's high sun heat load and radiates it back. Dangerous and man-made. These are the first 2 messages that the future visitor needs to receive. But looking
Oh, that's
dangerous
cool.
and man-made is clearly not enough. The main message should be, what makes this place dangerous? To transmit this message, scientists suggested to engrave this text on multiple granite monoliths. You can pause the video and read it.
Bruh.
To transmit this message, scientists suggested to engrave this text on multiple
No.
granite monoliths.
The structures mark an area used to bury radioactive wastes. The area is by kilometers and the waste is buried kilometers down. This place was chosen to put this dangerous material far away from people. The rock and water in this area may not look or smell or smell unusual, but may be poisoned by radioactive waste. When radioactive matter decays, it gives off invisible energy that can destroy or damage people, animals, and plants. Do not drill here, do not dig here, do not do anything with the rocks or water in the area. Do not destroy this marker. This marking system has been designed to last 10,000 years. If the marker is difficult to read, add the new markers in longer lasting materials and copy this message in your language onto them. For more information, go to the building further inside this marked area. The site is known as WIPP site. It was closed in. So, on the subject of infrastructure, the World of Girls last tour has some pretty cool brutalistic buildings. World of Girl last tours. Well, this is what you keep drawing. I always wonder what this was. That's cool. It's like a neat little concept. It's like it's crazy. Crazy like aggressive buildings, decayed buildings. This is crazy right here. Something that always kind of like scared me was like mega structures. Like concepts of mega structures. Not like this. This is like just weird, but like there's this artist. I don't know what his name was. This guy probably, but I always loved looking at this kind of stuff in it, but it's still terrifying to me. Luis Bouillet. I spell it so wrong. Pictures of blame. I think I've heard about this, where like the world continues generating because it's taken over by an AI, and it's just like building and building and building and building. I heard that because I saw like a sort of like a video about it. Video about how like somewhere in the book it was like speculating that, oh yeah, we might be like near Jupiter at this point. That's like, damn, dude, that's crazy. Like this is like the kind of art that I want to do sometimes. Like this really like chaotic kind of thing where it looks really massive. Cause of like also cause of this, like I was saying. Like this guy drew like these crazy drawings of like ginormous structures. Like look at that, those are people right here. And you just have this giant wall or a giant ceiling, like these giant spheres. And I don't know what is it about this guy that he knows how to uh, um but he knows how to make things look giant, and I wish I could do that too. I feel like the thing that sets it apart is like having a lot of detail and like having things to compare it to. So like these are very obviously humans, so when you see like the humans and you see the size of everything else, it's sort of like, yeah, I saw that video and it's like I feel like that's the tactic. It's to like have things to compare it to. Because in pretty much almost all of them, you see like humans walking about. You see like these little things walking. And they can show you like how big exactly this building is. But yeah.
You can pause the video and read it. This should be translated to the 6 official languages of the United Nations and the native language.
What about my Diddy frog? Bro, what the fuck? I'm not bringing a little damn Diddy frog.
Associated with the region. It should be inscribed up high, visible, but not reachable. A special place should be left to re-inscribe this text again and again as languages change. But what if something happens and the message won't be updated? What if something happens and the alphabet becomes meaningless to us?
Whoa.
Language and science are our best allies, but if they fail, there should be some other signs of danger. Of course, we will keep using the radiation trefoil, but considering its long-term intelligibility is uncertain, we need to find a way to explain it somehow. Not with words, but with signs. And this is where it gets a bit Indiana Jonesy. Signs with a clear visual reference are more recognizable as time passes. Pictograms of baggage, food, fire, dogs, mobile phones, cigarettes, cocktails are explicit. They immediately cause us to think of real-life objects and shapes. But there is no real object to explain radiation. One team suggested accompanying each message with drawn faces of fear and nausea. After all humans express feelings similarly, regardless of cultural differences. But the faces idea can only work if the emotions are drawn convincingly. These are not. Fear definitely reads as fear, but only because I'm familiar with Munch's painting, and it's not good enough to be remembered for thousands of years. As for the nausea face, it just looks weird, like someone ate a lemon maybe, but it certainly doesn't convey, you can get really sick here. Another team suggested drawing stick figures. Drawing stick figures is another long-lasting tradition of ours. They are universal, easily recognized by any other human. Plus, what we can't say with our faces, we can say with our bodies. Gestures highlight emotions. This
That's
guy
interesting.
definitely looks sicker than that guy. But my favorite part of this message system is this. This is a star time map? Let me explain. This map uses an astronomical phenomenon called precession to mark the exact time period when the site was created. Imagine spinning a toy top. As it slows down, the top wobbles in a circle. Earth does something similar. It's spinning on its axis, but the wobble is so slow it takes about 26,000 years to complete one cycle. The direction the Earth's axis points to changes, but really, really slowly, over thousands of years. Right now, the North Pole points almost exactly at the star Polaris, so we call it the North Star. But in a few thousand years, the direction will change, and Polaris won't be the North Star anymore. Every culture that watches the stars will know where the pole for their own time lies.
That's something that, like, I guess it works, but I feel like this is really complicated, and unless you have instructions to figure it out, I would never have guessed that was like the Big Dipper. And it's just really dull. I think it's kind of dumb.
These circles
But it's
are
cool
stars
how
seen
people
from the
think
sky.
about it.
By
It's
measuring the
just, I feel
positions
like
of
it's
the stars,
impractical.
future us can determine how much time has passed since the waste disposal. The succession of faces, from a disgusted one to a neutral one and then a content one, shows the levels of radiation diminishing over time. Can you imagine finding this in the year 12,024 at a mysterious ancient monument site in the middle of the spike field in the desert? Amazing. Very Frank Herbert of us. Chapter 5. The Benefits of Deep Time Thinking. As of today, no spent nuclear fuel has been permanently disposed of. Yucca Mountain never received any waste. Politics changed, then changed again, and $19 billion later, the project was abandoned. The boring
Damn.
machine these builders were so proud of is probably still there. Nevada's former Senator Harry Reid proposed an alternative plan.
Leave it on site where it is. Leave it where it is. And dry cast storage containers. If you were smart, what you would do is leave it where it is.
And they did leave
Just
it where it
dumb.
was. Now, nuclear waste is being stored locally and long-term all across the U.S. If it's not in Yucca, it's in your backyard.
Damn.
There are several programs for spent fuel disposal in Europe. One is under construction, and two are in the licensing
That's a crazy
process.
amount of money
But
right
each
there.
country with nuclear power will
Just
have
to
face
abandon
this
it?
problem. And though advanced fuel cycles can transform the waste,
It's a lot of
the
money
need for
wasted.
long-term containment is still there. Nuclear waste disposal is a major public scare. That's partially why the Yucca Mountain project died. But nuclear power is one of the cleanest energy sources we have, and, when properly managed, nuclear waste is the cleanest waste there is. Other waste we are producing right now is so much worse. Unlike nuclear waste, emissions from coal power plants go straight into the atmosphere. In just 1 year, coal power plants in the US release more ash than the total amount of nuclear waste ever produced. Coal plants are the single largest source of mercury pollution on our planet, and mercury never loses its toxicity. Fossil fuel waste
Damn.
constantly leaks, spills, and burns, destroying and poisoning everything around it. It has already killed more people than the Chernobyl disaster could ever dream of. Yet, it's nuclear power that we fear the most. During his first presidency, Trump took interest in nuclear waste disposal, but as always, nothing definite was said. Meanwhile, China is building more reactors, Microsoft is restarting the one at 3 Mile Island, and Amazon and Google are buying and developing small nuclear reactors of their own. We may finally be entering the nuclear age, and the disposal discussion may soon begin again.
I
So
hope
at some
so.
point in the future, we might actually be able to take a photo at the spike field. We are obsessed with restricted areas because we praise curiosity. We explore caves that are forbidden to enter. We take the route from the legends. We explore the depth of the ocean in untested submarines. It seems like we just can't help ourselves.
Yo. What is bro
It's hard for me to think
doing?
about the future. It always seems like we're on the brink of an apocalypse, so why bother? But thinking about nuclear waste disposal soothes me somehow. Even if the bombs start flying and falling and we perish in a nuclear war, the waste tombs we build will endure for thousands of years. They will see a future beyond the apocalypse. And even if all our efforts go in vain and future people do drill that spike field, it means that there are still people.
Interesting.
And they are still very nosy.
That's an interesting look at it.
First of all, thank you very much for all your kind comments, subscriptions, and support. We are flattered, thrilled, grateful, and proud.
That's a
If
nice
you
video.
enjoy our videos, you can now support us on Patreon. The link is in the description. We'll
I,
share
like I
cool
said, I
stuff
really
we
like
discovered
this.
during our research. Think of
I really like this like editing style. It's like really, really interesting. How to save us the trouble. Yeah, I really like the videos. It did cover a very interesting topic. But yeah, dude, it's crazy how we could have like such a significantly cleaner life, or im impact on the earth if people would just get educated and stop being scared of something that's, you know, clearly, worth all the trouble. But, you know, someone's gonna have to stand up and try to, you know. I don't know who that will be. I hope it happens one day at least. Yeah. It always ends up boiling down to just that. Greed for money, for power. So dumb. Yeah, that was cool. Is there anything anyone else wants to talk about? Oh, I'm getting really tired. Yeah, so it's kind of late. Go to sleep. It was nice. I had fun. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop streaming now.